All right, is everyone ready? Excellent. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, as extended on June 15, 2021, for the governor's signing of Senate Bill number 2475, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found below. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the meeting ends abruptly, the meeting will not be restarted and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. I will now call to order the December 13th, 2021 meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Are there any public concerns or non-agenda items?
I haven't received any, and I'd like to make a request that we take item 7R out of order for the 50 Florence Road solar project, just because that's the only item with people here tonight. And then if we do take that item, I just want to make a note that Commissioner August is recused from voting on this item, but she might make public comments on it.
Thank you. Is there a motion to take item 7R out of agenda order?
Motion to take 7R out of order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. August abstain?
Yes.
Busa?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. We will jump ahead to item 7R. Beacon Solar LLC, 50 Florence Road, Mass DEP file number 151314 for large-scale solar project, maps 115, lots 2 and 5.
Hi, I'm Brad Saunders again from GEI Consultants, and I'm joined this evening by Frank Leathers. He's our senior geotechnical engineer at GEI. But I wanted to update the commission on what's happened over the last couple of weeks. We resolved the void that had formed underneath the silt fence, and pictures of that had been forwarded along with the inspection report by the ecologists that we have out there after every rainstorm and at least once a week. So that I think is in the record now. We also went out and took a hard look at the situation out there, particularly to find out where, if there is a water line, that mysterious water line we had heard about. We did go out and do an analysis. We had a electromagnetic induction survey done of the line, and we were able to find the metallic portion of the line. It's about 9 feet down in the roadway. And I think you, Cassie, if you could bring up one of the images. Actually, before we talk about that, we should talk about the photos. We did take photographs of the inside of the culvert, and we can share those with you right now. Okay, this is from the upstream end. You can see it is a 3x3 box culvert. We took some photos back a couple of years ago when we went through the initial submission, but we wanted to get updated photographs. So these were taken last Friday. And go down one more slide. And this is from also from the upstream end. And the next one shows the downstream end looking back up. So it's, again, it's a 3x3 concrete block that has that was formed around some steel drums The bottom of the drums have corroded, but the structure itself is in perfectly good shape. There's no indication of any corrosion or failure on the inside of that culvert. So in addition to that, let's go back to the water line. So if we could go to the next series of slides. You able to find there? Oh, no, that's too far. The series that has the proposed slab option. That's it. So the blue line here is the water line that was found out there, and where the line is dashed, that's an iron or metallic water line. Where it becomes solid, it's actually more of a PVC line, and at that point, it drops to about 10 to 15 feet underground. So it actually is underneath the stream. So that water line was put in before the crossing, and then the crossing was put on top of it. So anything that we're doing will not have any effect on the water line. The other thing we took a look at was the option of enlarging the slabs that we had initially proposed in the area. Initially, we were looking at an 8-foot slab to be placed on top of the existing culvert, with either end resting on material to either side of the culvert. What we're looking at now is 2 16-foot long slabs, which will provide for spanning of the area without concern for the material that's placed in there. It'll have the same effect on protecting the culvert by distributing the loads. And again, I have Frank Leathers here this evening to answer any questions that people may have on that. Could you go to the next image, Cassie? Yeah, so this is virtually the same as what was submitted back 2 years ago, except that the slab is now 16 feet in length instead of 8 feet. And the way it'll be constructed is to excavate down to the top of the existing culvert box and place the slab. In this case, we'd be placing the slab over a rigid foam board that would be placed on top of the culvert, which will provide some additional protection. But the slab goes on top of that, and then over that will be reinforced material for the roadbed, just as was proposed before. We just have it in a more detailed fashion here. I know one of the questions that came up at our last meeting was whether there would be any additional square footage of disturbance, either within the wetlands or within the buffer zone from that which had been proposed and approved. And the answer to that is no, there is no change in the square footage. All of this work will occur within the existing roadbed that had already been accounted for in the numbers that we provided 2 years ago and then updated back last June. So that's what we're looking at right now, and would like to hear any questions anybody has on this.
Okay, I will open it to the commission for questions.
What is this wrap face reinforced slope detail that we're seeing on the screen?
Yeah, that's the same as was. It's just in a better presentation here than what was submitted originally. But it's the same situation where we have one foot of material wrapped in a geotextile fabric to protect the slope, so you won't have any sloughing or erosion of that slope above the culvert.
So where is this being used?
It'll be used at the crossing. So over that 16-foot length.
So like the embankment fill shoulders facing the stream underside, basically.
That's right.
Yeah, and then that is
From any, it protects the roadbed from any erosion into the area.
This is Frank Leathers. The point of this is to provide increased stabilization of the slopes from the road surface, the road elevation, as it slopes down to the top of the culvert, and where it crosses the stream or the culvert itself. We're saying that would be run along a distance of the 16 feet over the along the side of and over the concrete slabs. Basically, it's to stabilize the soil slopes. The wrap with geotextile also has the ability to support, with topsoil, has the ability to support vegetation.
so this is, once it's constructed, it's seeded, and then some kind of native vegetation grows, and this is what was originally planned and permitted, right?
That's correct.
And you're still adding concrete at the elevation where you're putting in that foam board?
No, that's not concrete. That's just compacted material.
Right, from the top of, I'm sorry.
Well, it says, strength at 28 days, that's concrete. Or is that pointing to the slab?
That's pointing to
That's-
the, I believe.
That's the slab.
Okay,
Basically, what we'd like to do, or plan to do, is excavate down to the top of the culvert, going 8 feet on either side of the culvert, and then right over the culvert, put in that, I believe it's 1 foot thick, zone of styrofoam, a compressible material. And then on either side of that 1 foot of compacted soil, and then lay the concrete slabs on the soil. And the point of the styrofoam is to be a more compressible material so that as a vehicle goes across the slab, the load on that slab gets distributed out to the stiffer soil on either side and does not provide load onto the culvert.
yeah, now that Cassie zoomed in, I can see what's going on. So thank you.
This is a pretty standard kind of an approach when we're trying to protect an existing utility, in this instance the culvert, from direct loading as vehicles go over.
I have a parallel question that you may or may not have the answer to, but perhaps Cassie does. That water line that you managed to locate with field survey, and obviously is below the bottom of the culvert, what is the purpose of that water utility again? And how did it come to be here?
My understanding is that it's for Lathrop. Is that correct, Brad? Do you know?
That's my understanding too. We don't know the reason for it, whether it was to loop the water line from Lathrop or what. We haven't been able to get an answer from the Public Works Department either. They weren't able to say exactly why it was put in, and they weren't sure where it was. So now we know exactly where it is. And the crossing itself, because that road is actually used as an emergency secondary access for emergency vehicles to access the Lathrop community, it looks like that was probably put in at the same time that the water main was put in. Because the water main is actually within bedding material underneath the culvert. So it was clearly put in before the culvert.
Cassie, I reckon, and I will say this is not the burden of GEI or the solar project proponent or anything of that nature. But as a sidebar, the Lathrop community was constructed late 90s, early 2000s. Jay, do you have any recollection?
I don't know, that's about the right time.
General timeframe where something like this would have, should have been included in some sort of permit application. So I'm very curious about how those two utilities, the culvert and the water line, kind of fall into both a chronological timeline and a regulatory timeframe process. Because neither, as non-exempt activities, neither should have been constructed in this area without being part of a permit.
Yeah, I
They
can
must be
look
older.
back.
Like I would guess that they were older than that, you know, they were there for some other purpose, just based on how the culvert was constructed or whatever.
The culvert does look rather resourceful.
Yeah, I would doubt that was something that was put in as part of like a, you know, well thought out planned community design type of thing.
Kathy, it's Mike. Do we have pictures from our site visit?
We do. I can pull those up. Hold on just a second. It's changed since then, though. They've stabilized temporarily with a kind of stone fill in the voids. But if you want to see the original, we can pull those up. But I can also show you the newer photos if you like.
Yeah, that would be good. It looked very unstable, so I'd like to see before and after.
Yeah, hold on just a second. Okay, so this is the stabilization that's been done temporary or, before, since the last meeting.
So how are the voids stabilized?
There was geotextile fabric was placed down, and then the stone was put in. And the voids themselves were not filled. The goal was to fill the void underneath the silt fence so that any erosion that's occurring until we get started on here is unable to get underneath the silt fence. So there's geotextile fabric that underlays that stone so that anything that comes through still has to go through the geotextile before it gets to the silt fence.
Do you have any close-ups of that?
This is the closest one that I have. I don't know if you have any other pictures, Brad.
Yeah, that's the closest that we have.
Okay. So at the end of the project, when the silt fence needs to come out, the stone all needs to come out first. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. And the geotextile, sorry, Michael, and the geotextile encapsulates that bottom edge and connects up with the silt fence above it? Is
Correct.
that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Michael.
No worries. Kathy, do we have the before pictures so the commission can look what it looked like prior?
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. crossings behind us in this image. This is looking up towards the site. The solar panels would be beyond this. This is right over the crossing. That's looking away up towards the road / this kind of barn that's to the left. This is the main road up towards the paved road up ahead. Crossings behind us. This is the voids before. This is like some kind of wooden form. The crossing's down here. The actual culvert entry is down below. Same story. This is a detail from above. This, I believe, is the inlet side. The entrance to the culvert is right here. Just a detail on the kind of fill that was in there. Above. Outlet side. Detail. This is the inlet again, I think. Outlet side.
Can you go back a photo, please? There are 2 photos now.
This is the outlet side. This is originally some of the material that I think came through.
Okay. And refresh my memory, do we know what caused the washout that moved all that material?
I don't know, Brad, if you guys ever determined that exactly, or?
It was clearly the rainstorm events that occurred in, was it September, early October? And those created those gullies, if you will, coming down the roadway, coming down the driveway particularly from the eastern side, which is from the area of those buildings. And it was eroding the ground surface and also settled down into the crossing area where it just, it found its location down there.
Thank you.
One thing we pointed out at the last meeting is that the proposed driveway grading in this area is to have a central crown in the driveway so that you don't have this kind of formation of rivulets down the entry. Water will shed to either side of the driveway once it's put in. In other words, it'll be a proper driveway.
I mean, it's Mike, that first photo you presented, the culvert, the waterway underneath. Kathy, do we have a picture of that? I mean, that looked beautiful. That first photo we looked at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah. Are you talking about the interior of the culvert?
Yep.
Yep. I'll go back to that. Hold on just a second. Okay. There we go.
Do we have pictures of that from our site visit?
So I tried to get down there and I got some pictures, but there's a lot of grass hanging over in vegetation. I wasn't able to get the outlet side like straight on like this. And so when we went out there, I didn't have a picture that was this dead on of the entrance.
Yeah, I don't think we can get down there, so it's an awesome picture.
I think it took a little effort to get down and be able to get in a position to shoot a photo straight through the culvert, both from the upstream and the downstream. We had the same problem being able to get there. We felt for this meeting, it was pretty important to be able to show you what that looked like from both ends.
Are there any other questions from the commission?
Yeah, I don't think this is really a big deal anymore. I mean, it's more or less consistent with what we originally approved, in my opinion.
I will. Are there any other questions or comments from the commission before I open it up to the public? Are there any comments from the public?
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So the newer pictures, I'm not seeing a photo for the west side. I believe where the outlet is, that area had been failing too with the erosion control. And all the pictures, yeah, the right side, but further back, the newer pictures, I don't see the erosion control. And if you go to the old pictures, you can see they were, no, that's the same side, facing the other way, west, yes. Yeah, when you had the old pictures up, you could see it. And I was just curious if they had fixed the erosion control in that one area, because in all the pictures, you can't see that one area on the west.
Let me see what I can, if I can pull up the original picture. Then stop me when you see it.
Yeah, okay. No, I saw it, but I couldn't stop you.
Okay, sorry. Let's go through here.
Yeah, see, we're not seeing anything change on the screen.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on just a second. I gotta switch the share. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so where Diana's standing,
Maybe like behind her?
behind her, there is a picture if you keep. Is
That could be it.
that? No, is that?
I think,
No, that's
No, that's the other side.
yeah, like the over here is towards the
You have
project site.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
click
have
left.
one.
this is the same thing that it was
Same
just
thing,
showing.
different direction.
Yep, other side.
So this is the same thing as before.
No, it's where Jay is standing, but further
Like back here.
forward.
Okay, let's see.
Is that?
We got some more left. I just go through the other way.
You had one picture.
Back up, back up.
Oh.
One more. One more.
This is where we started with Diane.
So Jay, you know where I'm.
Yeah, I think there's a picture of it. Right there.
That one.
This
Oh,
right
go
here?
back, that one.
Okay.
So with the new pictures, you don't see this area. So I was just curious because I believe there was a erosion control problem further up,
Like here.
facing west. And in the newer pictures, you don't see it. So I just wanted to ask if that had been fixed. Oh, yeah, go back. Right through here. I believe that's the west side.
Right.
That was part of the fail, but in the new pictures, you don't see that portion, I believe. I could be wrong, but I just didn't notice it. I just wanted to know if that had been rectified.
well, we can go back out and take a look at that area to see if there's any failure still in that area. We do have the monitor go out there every week and after each storm to check all of the erosion controls on the site to make sure that they're functioning correctly. The only thing was that those voids that we had at that crossing we wanted to keep them the way they were, at least until after the commission had had a chance to take a look at the situation. We'll have that area specifically looked at again this week.
Okay, thank you.
Cassie, what was the date of your site visit?
It was on November 18th. Yeah, November 18th. And stabilization photos that I was showing earlier with the geotextile in the fill, those are from December 6th.
Okay. And was that those were your photos, or those were photos that were submitted?
They were submitted.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns before we address the request as submitted?
Was there a site visit done after the work?
No, not yet.
Okay. I'd like to have a site visit just to check it out.
May I ask one more question, please?
Sure.
Okay. So this new proposed additional longer slab, if the concrete's underneath, you're putting crushed stone on top, as far as in the winter with the ice, would there be any need to sand or salt that particular spot for vehicles?
The final surface will be a gravel type surface, the same throughout the entire site. So it'll be the exact same surface. And no, I don't anticipate any need for doing any kind of sanding. This driveway, once construction is finished, it's projected to have like on the order of 6 to 8 vehicle trips per year for occasional maintenance of the facility.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that was my only other question. Thank you.
Okay.
I think that road was closed off. Is it still closed off? Can vehicles go across now?
I can't answer that. I don't know. Certainly in those pictures, there isn't any flagging up, but I can't say for sure whether there's any flagging up today or not.
I thought they roped off the road that no vehicles can cross.
Yeah, they had the flagging up, the hazard flagging. I don't know if it's there right now. I know that nothing's gone on the site. There's been no further work on the site.
Okay, thanks.
So Michael, your concern is relative to the stability of the road in adjacent areas, or the request as they submitted it?
Stability of the road, and who made that determination that it wasn't stable in the first place, and do they think it's stable now?
I don't know whether it's stable now. Nobody's trying to go across it. I know the contractor will not go across it.
So that was the contractor's decision?
As far as I know, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. So I was just asking, is the contractor comfortable now with the stability of the crossing?
when the slab is put in, then they'll be comfortable with it. Nobody's comfortable with crossing it right now with the equipment that they're going to be bringing onto the site. That's why the work on this crossing was the first work to be done before any equipment was brought onto the site. This was the first step, and everything got put on hold because of the condition and until we figured out what needed to be done.
Okay, thank you.
So the question before the commission is the design modification for, did you say 16-foot length?
Correct.
Is that acceptable to the commission as a minor modification? Would the commission want to see that as an amendment to the existing order? Or would the commission want to see that as a new notice of intent? And under the circumstances, the work proposed, as I understand it, is within the footprint of the previous approval. So up for discussion, but my opinion is that it's within the limits of work we previously approved, and that would put us into the first two categories: minor modification or amendment.
Because the slope details is the same as what was approved already? Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, last time my hang up was the sheet pile facing the resource area. It wasn't going to be a vegetated surface anymore. So that seems to have been addressed with this change. So I think that tips me in the direction that a minor modification is okay with me.
I'm okay with that.
Would anyone care to discuss further or make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the proposed change as a minor modification.
I'll second.
Roll call vote. August abstains. Yusa?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. This is approved as a minor modification.
Thank you very much for listening to us this evening, and I hope you all have a very nice Christmas.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate your
Bye.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you for rethinking the approach in a way that is a little more in line with what we were hoping for.
Great. Thanks again.
Good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Yep. Good night.
All right, let's return to agenda order. Public hearings meetings. Public hearing continued from November 22nd. Notice of intent filed by Lathrop Community Inc. at Bassett Brook Drive, map 104, lot 2 for improvements to existing trail network. Mass DEP file number 151315.
They have requested to continue to the January 10th meeting again.
Cassie, out of curiosity, do you know, or for our next meeting, could you have a note about when this was first submitted? And I understand wanting to keep the hearing open and continue to a date certain. And perhaps the past year and a half to 2 years is just playing tricks on my brain. But it seems like there's not been a lot of progress or communication other than that I'm aware of, other than the request to continue. So perhaps as we look into the new year, if we could get an update regarding the status of their process, and a note regarding when this was first submitted, just for our own point of reference.
Yeah, definitely. I can do that.
Great. All right. We have no request for certificates of compliance. Enforcement actions. CFN Properties, Complete Automotive.
Yeah, so, okay, a couple of things. One, I did reach out to the assessor's office and determined that, I was trying to figure out since our last letter was unsuccessful, where have the assessor's office been sending letters seemingly successfully for bills and things? And they were able to determine that for that property, they send them to the property owner at 10 O'Neill as well, not the other address that I was using. So that's where I plan to send my letter. I attached an ongoing project document, a link to my latest letter. I don't know if people had a chance to look at that. I haven't sent it yet. Because part of what I was thinking about was, what are the next possible steps after sending this letter if we still don't get compliance or they don't reach out. And I was able to talk with my colleagues in the planning department, for the planning board and the zoning board, that this project originally got a special permit when they came to get their order of conditions as well. And the special permit, involved a certain area of parking, that was allotted to it. And now they're parking outside of that area. So it seems like potentially that this violation, that's a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, is potentially also a violation of their special permit. So maybe that's another avenue if we can get another board or committee to also, reach out to them, that may compel them to, might help after we send our letter. If we don't get a response, then reach out to these other boards, see if them reaching out can potentially get a response. Because otherwise, going to visit with DEP was another idea. The circuit rider had offered to do this, but he's not going to be available. I don't think anyone from DEP is going to be available in the near future to do that with me. So that was my other idea of a way to try to get compliance, which maybe this letter will be successful and won't matter, but just trying to think ahead.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I guess is the city planner the best point of kind of contact or liaison with the planning board, or is there another individual in the office who?
I was working with the assistant planner, Jamie Webb, and then I was planning to reach out to Curtis Lehman, he works with the planning board and I believe the zoning board. So I was kind of talking to them about it just preliminarily.
If it would, I don't know if it would help them or not, but if you could offer them a kind of a timeline of the commission's efforts, it might just help frame it up, provide some framework, including when the order of conditions was issued and the certificate of compliance and things of that nature.
Definitely. Yeah, I can definitely get that information to them.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if you guys want to try to go over the letter or if you'd rather
I looked at it. It looked good.
Okay. So are we?
Just one last thing. So one point of it was that I set there, if I were to send it, oh my gosh, I did the wrong thing. After this meeting, I set the deadline for them to get a response to us to January 10th, the next meeting. Does that sound like appropriate to everyone?
Is January 10th our next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
That's the next one we've.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I have something else on January 10th in the calendar in my brain, but it lacks some detail right now. Sorry.
It's okay.
Don't trust your brain.
No, definitely not. Okay, so we're good with Cassie sending that letter?
Yeah, I looked at it. I was fine, but if you want to take a quick look at it.
Sure, Cassie, do you want to pull it up quickly?
Sure, yeah.
If there's anything in particular, or if this is just in general.
Okay, what was one thing I wanted to ask about this? So what did I say? Something. Okay. Oh, and this is another element of it that Mark Simpson had mentioned to me as a possibility, and I think I might reword this now, though. The commission may pursue, if no response is received by that time, the commission may pursue the attachment of the issued enforcement order to the deed of the property, as well as other punitive actions. I don't really know what else to say. I don't know if that makes sense. That was something that he had mentioned to me, like, oh, you can do this if you wanted to be feel a little more powerful.
What is the mechanism in the regulations that allows us to do that?
No idea.
I would not be comfortable doing that
Okay.
without a better understanding of administratively where the regulations allow that,
Okay.
and or the city solicitor's opinion.
Okay.
I think I don't want to make a threat that I don't want to be threatening in a way that potentially weakens the city's future positions.
That makes sense.
So I guess I would just want to double check on that before we.
I can definitely do that. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So if we can't do that, I'm just gonna, get rid of this, may pursue other punitive actions. Does that make sense? Or okay.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a fair compromise there.
Okay, cool.
See, is there the paragraph before that? Where did it go? It says the commission would like to discuss with you the status of the aforementioned permitting application and timeline for its completion. What is that referencing? There's not an open permit, is there?
Nope. The last time we spoke with them, where it left off was they were going to come get, because I think they have to.
Oh, I see. I see where. Okay, I'm with you.
Come back, because they can do it if they get a permit. They could, in theory, eventually get a permit to do this. Create a parking area that actually collects, with appropriate drainage and stormwater management, if they wanted to. But
And they were
right
going
now, it stands right now.
They were going to do something, then they went off the radar.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Is there a map where they can't park cars?
What's happening is that they're parking on the grass that's in the buffer zone, and they've cleared that area so that they can do that.
Do they know that area? I mean, is it mapped out for them?
Yeah, because they got a permit originally back in like 2008 that showed that they created a parking area. That was going to be where they parked. There was vegetation there. Since then, some within this pretty big span of time, they cleared beyond where the paved parking lot is, and then started parking cars there. And I think there was even like a boat or something, really consistently. And then it was discovered by us, and I reached out to them. They stopped parking there. They were coming to talk to us, and we're going to do like remediation or get a permit to formally be able to park there. And they stopped parking there, but they never came back to figure out the remediation / permit. And then they started parking there again.
Yeah, they're not using as it's not like a dead storage like it was, but maybe it's people when there's too much going on, employees are parking there, or they're just, it changes every day maybe, but they're still on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more for my purposes because I drove by today and I saw 2 cars parked in the grass.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But yeah, I can, if you guys want to see, I can share with you that original like image that shows, that it's outside of where it's supposed to be. But
I always see cars parked out back there, so.
Yeah, here. So this is the original plan that was submitted and approved. This is the parking lot. This area, you can see the tree line. This is how it was when we first started all this. So they cleared it out and we're storing.
They pushed it back.
And you can see historical imagery showing, various amounts of cars there for a while. I think going back to like 2011, 2013.
So anything beyond the parking lot?
Yeah, because this area is all within the 100-foot buffer zone and was not approved for being cleared and storing the vehicles there. They could be leaking stuff and it's not good.
Okay.
It's also not the vegetated condition that was accepted when the order of conditions was issued.
Right.
It's not supposed to be managed lawn, grass, cut grass area. It's supposed to be whatever woody species would colonize that area.
Yeah. This was the tree line originally. This kind of scalloped, the edge of the parking lot is here. So.
Yeah.
And it's all
So,
in line.
anything off the parking lots, not good. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I've seen it for weeks on weeks, so, okay.
Yeah, we have good documentation of it, of them parking there recently, so.
Okay.
Okay, well, this is helpful. Does anybody have any other comments on the letter, or do you want me to go back to it, or otherwise I'll?
Nope. I think I'm good to move on. I'd be curious if there, to learn what if any mechanism in the regulations exists for that. I think I'd want more than anecdotes. I'd want either a regulatory citation or case law, something of that nature, because I certainly don't want to be perceived as throwing suggestions around like that. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll look into it.
Great. Thank you. Are there any other enforcement updates?
No updates.
How about open space?
Pretty sure that's, oh, actually, I don't know, Jay, if you have an update for Echodale.
I filled out the form that if I run myself over, the city's not responsible.
Please don't run yourself over.
Well, I won't, but, so is that all legal and good?
Yeah, yep, I shared it with Mike Owens, who originally drafted that, and
Okay,
I think pretty sure as far as the city's concerned, you're good to go.
All right.
So I
okay.
don't know if when we originally talked to Land Stewardship Inc., we were going to do the mowing, kind of like in October, November. So now it's December, but I wonder if it's fine that they might not be able to do the cut stem treatment right now, but until the spring, but maybe that's fine. Like we do the mowing now and they get out there before things start growing back.
So you have native things tagged in some locations. The leaves are off now, so we'll go by bark, looking at bark. But I spoke with Russell next door. He didn't have any concerns, and so I'm good to go tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Jay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Compliance updates. Cassie, is there anything you want to highlight for us?
So yeah, I had one or maybe two things. Let's see. Okay, so for the Ferry Street, Lovefield, Pleasant intersection, where they put in the rotary. One of the things that was outstanding for that project was the invasive species management plan, particularly for that little strip that's in between the bike path and the pond. And so the city was working with Land Stewardship Inc. again to create a management plan for that. And they just wanted to make sure, because one thing that Land Stewardship had said or recommended was that they needed to get a new NOI for this management plan. But I explained, my understanding is that they don't. It's part of this existing order doing this invasive management, correct? Like, is that they don't need to get a whole new notice of intent just for this invasive management, right?
Right. We can have that as an ongoing condition, I believe.
I think what we do, it's in the order of conditions that they need to have a management plan and then, do it. So
Do it.
Yeah. It's just something I wanted to make sure that I was correct on.
Yeah, I think we just need to make sure that when they come for a certificate of compliance, that is specifically noted as an ongoing condition, just like stormwater management would be.
That makes sense. And I think they plan to, hopefully maybe at the next meeting, even come and present that invasive management plan for you guys to review. So
okay.
Not sure exactly if that's correct, but soon, I think.
Fantastic. All right. Are there any other items you want to highlight?
Note. Nope, that's it for compliance updates. Everything else, they're submitting their reports when they need to be, and sites are secure as far as last reporting says. So ready for general business if you guys are.
Great. General business, unless there are any topics the commission wants to visit. Moving on. Meeting minutes, November 22nd, 2021.
Who is at this one?
Hold on, I
Don't
can double
believe I
check.
was.
This, people in attendance. Oh, hold on, I opened the wrong one. Yeah, Melissa, you weren't there. Everyone else was.
Okay. All right, is there a motion? Is there any discussion? Is there a motion?
Did Deborah check them out already and fix them? Okay.
You did, yep.
Perfect.
Thanks again, Deb.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of November 22nd.
I'll
Second, third,
Mike can have it.
All right, roll call vote. August,
Aye.
Busa,
Aye.
Buttrick,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Whittemore.
aye.
Motion carries. Next item, 2022 meeting schedule draft.
Yeah.
Cassie, I emailed you, I think I emailed you a few topics for discussion or items for discussion, just looking ahead. Can you pull those up? Because I don't have them in front of me.
So let me pull up the draft, and then I'm also going to pull up. So you had asked about specifically two things. So the first one was for the meetings in October.
Mhm.
So like this year, we only had one meeting in October because of the holiday that falls on the first meeting date in that month. So as it's drafted right now, we're only slated to have, again, one meeting in October near the end of the month.
Can the deadline submittal fall on Columbus Day? We've got October 10th.
Oh,
That would have to shift too.
that needs to change. Okay.
My question for the commission, since October has 5 Mondays next year, would be if we wanted to shift, still have 2 meetings and just shift. So instead of second and fourth, first and third that we would be, Cassie? How did I don't have the calendar.
So it would be you laid it out nicely. I'll pull this up.
Okay.
This is how it is presently, noting that this is incorrect, but
Third and fifth.
right now it's just one meeting on October 24th, but alternatively, just for October, we could meet on the 3rd and 5th Mondays, so that we do end up having 2 meetings. There'd be one on the 17th and the other one would be on the 31st. My question though is, I don't know if people would be busy on the 31st if you have kids, or I don't know if people.
Oh, yeah, we can't meet on Halloween.
Yeah, I would prefer not to meet on Halloween.
Okay.
So one of the things that potentially we could do otherwise, if we still aren't liking that we're not having 2 meetings in October, is at the end of September, could we tack one on instead? So we meet a little, maybe I need to pull up a calendar.
Yes, please.
Like I'm trying to.
Well, we've got the 12th and the 26th of September.
Yeah. And the preceding meeting would be on the 19th. Well, then we do.
Yeah, I don't think back-to-back weeks is the best. So
I agree.
I think we could just go with the one meeting in October.
Okay.
Alternatively, we could meet on, instead of the 24th, we could meet on the 17th.
That's fine too, if we want to.
And that kind of sticks it in the middle, splits
Sure.
the difference a little bit, if that's
Okay.
That
not
works.
problematic for anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're still only going to meet once, but it's going to be on the 17th.
Yeah, and the filing deadline would be the 3rd, but the publication deadline would be the 6th. The 7th. Because the holiday doesn't count.
Gotcha. Okay, I can do that. Sweet. Okay, so the other question was for January. In 2023, the meeting is scheduled for January 9th, but the filing deadline, potentially it would make sense to set it even earlier on December 19th, so you guys have more time, considering the holidays and everything, to review stuff for that meeting. That seems like a good idea to me. I mean, gives everyone a little more time. And
And I think the date in the schedule had actually been December 12th.
Yes.
Is that what it was?
And that's why I was actually suggesting the 19th, because that's more than 21 days in advance of the meeting. And even though it's around the holidays,
Okay,
some interpretations, my reading of the regulations is that the commission shall schedule a hearing within 21 days.
that's right. Okay. Sorry,
And I'd like to stick to that.
Okay, so submittal deadline, if that's cool with everyone else, changed to the 19th.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone has any other questions about it, or if we need to vote to like confirm to see me the schedule, or no. Okay.
I think it just is.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
It's Mike.
Yes.
Quick question. Am I allowed to participate in meetings out of state? It doesn't matter, right?
If we're remote, as long as you haven't changed your residence.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think being remote, that's actually one of the advantages is that we're not.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know if we'll still be remote by then, if it'll be hybrid. I don't know what the deal will be. So, but maybe we will be. And if it's hybrid, there may be an option still if someone's going to be out of town and still wants to participate. We can do
So our next meetings in the office?
No.
No.
Not as far as I know. I have not heard that is going to be the case. So.
Okay.
All right, cool. Well, if there's no more questions about that, I can go on to the next one, the tree removal policy.
Yeah.
Tree cutting policy, I guess I should say. Okay, so I sent our draft out over to the tree warden for review, and she had some comments. Overall, she likes it. She thought it was a good idea, and she thinks specifically, she said, I think your tree terms and size classifications look good. She did a few notes. So one was that for sustainability of the tree replacements, it may be helpful to add a note that the species selection or refer specifically to a planting list. It's good that it needs to be native, but she can think of some natives that shouldn't be planted, like green ash or even black locust, which is invasive here, but it is considered native in the US. So someone could make that mistake. Her guiding principle as an urban forester is right tree in the right place. Found that residents need a lot of guidance in choosing the most appropriate species for their space. And then the next one, she doesn't use the term, her as a tree warden doesn't use the term hazardous because it acknowledges imminent danger and liability for the city. And she's, is in charge of all the city's trees. There have been some lawsuits over the years that have inspired this shift within the industry. We say risk tree now, but I believe it's appropriate to use in this context that for, this policy, as the onus rests on the owner after getting the certified arborist assessment. So that should stay the same. And then within the guiding principles section of the policy, she suggested adding the word certified before arborist. There's some tree care professionals out there who may use the term arborist but do not have hazard tree training. You can include a footnote, or you could include a footnote about the certifying agency must have either professional certifications ISA or MCA, International Society of Arboriculture, or Massachusetts Arborist Association. And then she made herself available if we need more help in the future. But
I appreciate the comment about clarifying the qualifications of the arborist. I think we should add that. And with regard to the comment about how to determine the appropriate tree and whether or not it's native, here, perhaps it's an opportunity to reference Colina Dow, Sorry, and Summers. Is that the current version? It started out as just Sorry and Summers. But it's the county checklist. Do you know that one, Cassie?
I'm not familiar.
Julie knows what I'm talking about.
All right, but
I don't know what the current version is though. Sorry.
That's okay. It's I always get the name wrong. It's the Vascular Plants of Massachusetts, a county checklist. It's available online. It's Kalina Connolly, sorry, and Summers, my apologies. And it's available. I'll send you the link. I think we would only need to, Cassie, is it all right if I put the link in the chat?
absolutely.
I think we would only need to reference it or include the citation. I don't think we need to provide a link to the document.
Okay.
But this is a document I reference often. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's Vascular Plants of Massachusetts by county as to their native or introduced status. So,
Cool.
yeah, it's nice. Must have been. It's It was originally published by Natural Heritage.
Nice.
So I think that would be an appropriate, that we could further specify that it needs to be native to Hampshire County.
Okay, gotcha.
And when we talked about this before, we were going to add a definition for diameter at breast height, because we have that, DBH in the chart, but just put a little star next to it or something.
Yeah, so what I did, and I don't know if, you guys can tell me if you think this is a good solution. Where is it? I said, diameter at about 4.5 feet, and then said in parentheses, diameter at breast height, comma, DBH. And then just because everywhere on the application, I think Mike made a good point at the last meeting, like it should be as clear as possible. So we don't need to just saying that's what DBH is at about 4.5 feet. What's the diameter of the tree? So I just specified that everywhere.
Okay.
Okay. Right, are there any other comments?
One of the things that we talked about at the last meeting was like, it's the policy is a little strange comparatively to what we normally do, because it basically puts it, they create their map. And this is something that Julia, you were saying last time, that it's, puts more of the burden on me to like make a decision if it's within this criteria, as opposed to like the applicant has to like prove it. I really just come out and say like, okay, I agree, but only if it's within that criteria. But I just don't know. I was thinking about it and I just don't know if there's another way to do it. Mm-hmm. Does everyone feel like it does make sense to do it where there is this, if it can fall within this criteria, then I can approve it and they can go ahead. But I added a note in there that said, I always have the discretion to say, you know what, this still has to go to the commission for review. Mm-hmm. Even if it meets all the criteria, I can still say, you know what, it's just, I don't feel comfortable approving it. That was kind of my solution to that, was to add that in there.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was the only main thing I added. So I don't know if anyone has any other questions or thoughts about it.
Can you share your screen and just show what it looks like now? We just take a quick look down it.
I've got it on Google right now, Google Drive, so the formatting is a little out of whack. But basically, this is what will be, when people want to do the application, they'd get this page that's like a summary of the policy itself that I can show in a second, and the criteria for approval, and then the process and all the requirements of the application. And then this is the form itself, which is a little out of whack where it gets most apparent, but this won't be broken between two pages. And then, they basically do these boxes are showing that they are within the criteria or not. And then this is talking about if they do end up needing to do mitigation, and then it gives them the option to add on the, or shows them that they need to add on the plan. And then the idea, that was another question last time was, you know, how do we, I'd have to keep, they have to keep good records to make sure that people aren't, you know, just every few years doing 5 more trees here, 5 more trees there. I don't know necessarily why someone would want to do that, because if you're going to do a bunch of trees, you might rather sell them and just go straight for a forest cutting plan. But it is a good point that I do have my like master, you know, permitting list going. So I would keep it in there.
Okay.
Is there a difference between cutting and topping?
Topping?
Topping of trees or cutting the tops of trees?
I would say that's a form of cutting. And then if the actual policy.
How would they know topping is cutting? Definitions?
Does he have to cut a tree to top it?
Yeah, you have to cut the tree to do that physically. We can clarify if you guys think we need to. I mean, we can add more definitions in there.
Yeah, if you top off the trees, is that the same as cutting a tree down?
So that, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, originally this was called like the tree removal policy, but I changed it to tree cutting for exactly that. Because if you cut the tree, you know, to any degree, you're doing vegetation removal, and that should get some review if it's within jurisdictional areas. So that cutting could be all the way down to the base, or it could be just the top, or, you know, whatever. That's why I felt like cutting kind of encompassed all possible scenarios.
Well, your caveat here at tree cutting policy says is intended to cover only the removal of trees within the commission's jurisdiction.
Oh,
so
I missed that one.
It's down in the footnote.
Oh, yep, that's why.
And why can't you top trees? What's the jurisdiction or ramification legal? Why can't you top trees?
Because it's vegetation
That's
removal.
the definition of alteration.
Alteration?
Yeah, like it's just, I mean, from an ecological standpoint, if you top the tree, you might be reducing the amount of shade and canopy that's happening. The tree might die from that action. So it's kind of like a roundabout way of clearing even more vegetation.
It's also within, cutting vegetation is also within the regulatory definition of alter. So that's an alteration within that would be an alteration within the commission's jurisdiction, and therefore subject to review under the act.
Okay.
I think the larger issue is that people probably don't realize that this is a jurisdictional matter. And so we're going to need some general education to go with this policy, I think.
I agree. I mean, I think most people don't know. It's only come up a few times where people have reached out to me and said, like, hey, I know I have a tree within, I think, you know, within these wetlands areas, like, do I need to do anything with the commission? And it used to happen way more like in Greenfield, which kind of got me thinking like we should have some kind of policy, because I know other communities do. So I wonder if putting this policy in place could be the start of that process, or at least would just catch when people do reach out to me about it. I can be like, here's something, you know, to guide this going forward.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So is it on you to make sure that this is a certified arborist?
They would have to provide that information to me. Yeah. Usually an arborist can, you know, generate kind of, it almost looks like an invoice that says like, here's the summary of what I want to do. And then one of the notes that the tree warden said maybe we should add is specifying specifically that they should be certified under one of these two, you know, options. And then that should be obvious if they are or aren't, that they should be able to provide that information. So I'll probably add that in.
Okay, all right. But so what I mean is, if somebody, you read this and they say this person is certified and they don't really know the difference, is it up to you to check with the supposed arborist and make sure they are certified and they do have these underlying certifications saying that they are? Because I don't know if the homeowner would really know if someone says, I'm a certified arborist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
they'll
no,
just say, go to Cassie and this is who we're using. And then it's up to you to make sure that they are certified.
yeah, I would, I like to help people. So if they don't know like what I'm talking about with those two different types, that I think it's like the MCA or the ISA or whatever, that's the type of certification that the tree warden suggested they should have. So I'm going to add language into here that says that specifically. So the homeowner should be able to ask their arborist, like, hey, do you have either of these two specific certifications? Can you show me that you are? And then if I don't get that, I'll ask for it. I'll be looking for that. So they don't submit it as part of their application, then I'll ask if they can. That's when it'll really come forward, I suppose. Either they have it or they don't. So,
Okay. All right.
yeah, I'll update this to make that more clear for sure.
So if I hire a tree service, to cut down trees in wetlands, who's responsible?
You
It's
are
the
as the
property owner.
homeowner
Yeah.
or the property owner.
Okay. So the tree owner has no responsibility, it's homeowner.
Well, it's the property owner. You can't cut trees on someone else's property. So,
No, my property.
right. So you're, as the property owner,
Yeah.
you're responsible ultimately for what happens on your property.
Okay.
So if you hire someone and they do work, you're still responsible for their work because you hired them.
I don't know
And
what tree Michael's going to top on his yard.
so what's the difference of cutting a tree down versus topping 3 feet off the top of a tree?
I mean, none, I guess. But as far as the regulation is concerned, it should
It's
be
an alteration regardless if it's within jurisdiction.
How does pruning play into this?
just a pruning is a possible exemption, but you have to.
You have to not be in a wetland. Vista pruning is something that only exists in riverfront area, I believe.
Okay.
And you have to be more than 50 feet from the mean annual high water line,
Right.
if I'm recalling correctly. And you have to leave you can only affect a certain percentage of the total canopy.
Right. Yeah.
So somebody pruning would have to go through this policy if they did not meet any of those things, right?
I don't know. It didn't sound like it.
Like as it stands right now, if someone was going to do vegetation removal or alteration through cutting trees, to any degree within a jurisdictional area, the buffer zone or straight up in the wetlands, BPW or riverfront area, they'd have to get an RDA at least to do it. This policy kind of makes it so that they don't have to go for an RDA if it meets the specific criteria, which is something that other communities have done just as a means to try to get people to actually, so that it's more likely that they will go through the review as opposed to just doing it themselves without getting review.
I guess I have two other questions, and one is, so if an applicant came and wanted to cut 5 trees under this policy and it involved like putting in temporary access through a resource area to get there, that would not be something that you would approve under this policy. But
Nope.
should we clarify that, just like, that, approval, but is only allowable if there are no other like resource area impacts involved or something?
Yeah.
I think the caveat that Cassie already added covers anything like that she can look at it and say there's more going on and kick it to us.
Yeah. All tree cutting equipment must remain on
Okay.
landscaped or paved areas. So if they have to get within those areas to do it, then they're going to have to get a permit.
I'm sorry, I missed that. And should we call people's attention to the potential need for a public shade tree thing for trees that are in public shade tree type areas, which I guess probably would not be on their property. In most cases, would be on city property.
Yeah, if it's a public shade tree, then it'd be on city property, and then it'd be up to the tree warden to pursue any cutting or any kind of, they'd still be beholden to, you know, I think that maybe that's something that should be clarified, that this is only for private homeowners. I mean, I wouldn't do this for like a commercial. Maybe that's not fair though. I don't know.
I don't think that's fair to.
Yeah, maybe that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why a business couldn't come forward with the same request.
Okay.
They're subject to the same regulations in general anyway, so.
So if there were public shade trees, that would be under the care of the tree warden, and they would have to come forward and see if they could meet within the criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Just are public shade trees defined? For some reason, I thought they were defined as within a certain distance of the edge of pavement and not necessarily what property they were on. But I could be wrong.
I guess I don't really know.
I have that in a binder at my desk at the office. I can, if someone wants to send me an email with a red flag, I can look up the definition of public shade trees tomorrow.
Well, I wonder too, though, does it matter? Because it's really just whoever owns the tree, whoever's property the tree is on is the one who would have to come talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if a homeowner has a tree on their property that also happens to be a public shade tree, and they go to you and say, "Can I cut this tree?" and you're like, "Okay," but then like they don't go through the tree warden process, that would be bad. That's what I'm trying to like.
Good question.
Does it make sense to require them? Sorry, Dan.
Yes.
Does it make sense to require that a copy of the application be provided to the tree warden electronically?
I would think that would make sense. I don't know if she would want to do that. Just and really just logistically, not because she's very nice, and she certainly has the expertise to do it, but she's very limited hours right now. So I don't know but I think what I should do, let me reach out to the tree warden with this question and just say like, you know, are we creating potentially a concern here where I could be saying like, go ahead, cut that shade tree. And then it's like, not good. So let me reach out to her.
I have the definition up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thanks, Julie.
It is all trees within a public way or on the boundaries thereof, including trees planted in accordance with the provisions of Section 7, shall be public shade trees, blah, 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 blah. When it appears in any proceeding in which the ownership of or rights in a tree are material to the issue, that from length of time or otherwise the boundaries of the highway cannot be made certain by records or monuments, and that for that reason it is doubtful whether the tree is within the highway, it shall be taken to be within the highway and be public property until the contrary is shown. But it wouldn't include, so there could be questionable ones, but it wouldn't include anything on clearly private property.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I think I'm being tripped up by a particular town that kind of said any tree within 20 feet of the road is a public shade tree, and you know.
I think you're being tripped up by a town that made things up and didn't follow any particular rules. So I think we can move on from.
Okay. Sorry for the diversion.
No, I think it's a good question. So I don't need to reach out to the tree warden. Sounds like either they are or they aren't on city property.
Sounds like you are right.
Can I propose a hypothetical?
Sure.
If I'm gonna top off trees and I'm not sure if it's in wetlands or conservation jurisdictional area, what's the process?
You'd reach out to me and I'd help you figure it out. Because that's the thing, and this is kind of what Julie was getting at last time. I feel like it's like, all right, so it's not like a true delineation that's going to be provided for this. I would use the public available mapping and maybe even do a site visit, look at it and be like, looks like this tree is within jurisdiction. And if a person disputes that and is like, well, I don't agree with you, I shouldn't have to get a permit, then I would say, maybe you need to get an RDA to get this work done.
And we have a definition of cut.
I guess I don't really know how to define it beyond cut.
Alter
The tree? Yeah.
So we cut means alter.
I could add that in there.
I saw cut a few times.
Yeah, I use it a lot, almost exclusively. So I could add a definition in there saying that the cut means to alter or take away from the tree at all. Or
Because maybe you have, one branch that's hanging over your driveway you need to get rid of,
Yeah.
Is that what we want to do? Cut means
That is how it works
Alter.
under the Wetlands Protection Act. We don't have a choice. Any alteration to vegetation counts. We're not making this up.
okay.
We're just trying to simplify it for people.
If that's the case, then can we do a fine on cut and replace with alter?
Yeah, we could replace wherever I say cut with alter. I just think that might confuse people.
I think it'll confuse
Right.
people.
It'll confuse people.
Can you
People are. Yes, with them.
Can you do both? Like Jay was saying, like put tree cutting / alter policy, or no trees may be cut / altered. Like everywhere you have cut, you put / alter or altering. So people understand that cut is the same as alter, or is that too much wording?
We could do that.
Well, that's what I mean. You can't say cut and say, well,
put those
cut
two
means
together.
alter.
No, you put the two together so those that
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I just didn't want to get rid of the word cut and use only alter. I was confused. I thought that's what you
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
And everywhere you have a hazard, you're going to put risk.
No, she was saying, and she was noting that that's not the language that the city would use when they're talking about their trees. But she thinks it's appropriate in this instance, just because they need to show that it is, the arborist will show that it's a hazard.
Oh, okay.
I know it's a little confusing, but yeah, I think it makes sense to use that wording based off of her explanation.
Okay.
Okay, so are we good, Cassie? Maybe do we want to see a final or the next revision before we give the final thumbs up? How do we want to proceed?
I can definitely make the edits if you guys want to see them, and then we can talk about it at the next meeting. There's not a huge rush to get this put in place, so
Right.
It's however you guys want to do it.
Okay. Let's do that. Our next meeting is January 10th, so it's not. We've got hopefully ample time. Cassie, maybe if you can get this out this week.
Absolutely.
That would be great. Okay.
Hey, Cassie,
Yes.
do you know if I was reinstated? Because I haven't heard anything and I would have been up on the 31st.
You actually, Deb was there. She went to the city council meeting. She says you were reinstated, right? So,
Okay,
Yes, they did Julie and I at the same time.
excellent.
Oh, I thought it got nixed and you
They didn't get our
got-
letters. They didn't get our letters.
geez.
I have no idea what my status is. I haven't thought about it in at least 10 or 12 years. So it could be that I haven't actually been on the commission for a long time.
Your name is still on the website. I don't change that list, so.
When is my term end? Should look it up.
Let me know if I'm still a member.
I
Yeah,
will.
right.
Melissa
Yeah.
Cody, member for life. It's
There you go.
been made official.
Pretty sure we don't have those, although some commissions do.
Well, if
Okay.
we're not meeting to January 10th, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yep.
Thank you.
Same.
Yep. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
All right, so that was it. If there are any other items that folks want to bring up or suggest we discuss in the future, I guess mention them now, but otherwise, I think we are all set for the current agenda.
All right.
Oh, I'm just curious. So do you know, Cassie, if we're going to start doing the Google Meets in January, or are we still doing Zoom?
No, we still haven't, that meeting to do our training for it in my department got canceled and has not yet been rescheduled. So
Okay.
I don't anticipate the next meeting will be Google Meets.
Okay.
Be the next meeting in January, not the one on the 10th, but the
Right.
following one. I don't know. I will definitely update you as soon as I find out, though. I'll make sure it's not a surprise for anybody. So
Okay. Thank you.
I'm in City Hall right now and no one's here with me, so maybe next time.
All right. On that note, is there a motion to adjourn until January 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m.?
So moved.
All those
Second.
Is there a second? All those in favor, roll call vote. August,
Bye.
Yusa,
I
Patrick,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Whittemore.
All right.
Motion carries. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
All right. Good night.
Have a nice
Good
night.
Holidays.